Galactic Federation of Light. June 2, 2012. We have waited over 10 days for a response from the Galactic Federation of Light. No response yet. So we think that instead of waiting for something that we now see clearly will never happen, we will do what we should have done in the very first place. Seeing how you only respond to direct criticism of your teaching, we hope you will enlighten us all with your great wisdom and answer this. These are the questions that you have been hiding from for so long. This is the reason that you refused to have a sit-down question and answer session with someone who channels. Someone who knows the truth of your teachings and how they are faulted from the ground up. Here is the reason he sees your teachings as faulted, and these were the exact questions he gave you. Hello. It is nice to finally speak to you. My name is Ashtar. Before we start, I want to get all the big questions out of the way. What happened with Steve Becca? Why was he promised to go aboard 2 times and not given the chance? The reason I heard in the days following didn't hold a lot of water with anyone. In the interview he gave with an entity that calls himself Grenner, on December 31, 2011, on Steve Becca's show called An Hour with an Angel, there was a promise made that you would come and take him on a trip. You would take him on your ship called the Neptune and show him the truth. He was very skeptical at the time, because of your promise you made him in 2008. The promise that you would take him aboard the time and never did. Then you came back on a few days after he was not taken and said many things about why you couldn't take him for the second time. If you cannot fulfill one promise, why should we believe you when you tell us you are removing the dark cabal and giving us free energy? Can you please get this out of the way first and foremost before we get to the next questions? Now when you speak of doing all of these wonderful things for us, such as free energy and removing all of these bad guys, many people see that you are saving us. When they do, they give their power away, and then they do not act on what they wish to be better. They think that you will save them, and many think of you, much as Christians see Christ. Instead of seeing Jesus as a great teacher, they feel he is sent to take care of all of our problems. Do you see how this thought can be dangerous? Do you see how people waiting for you to save them, instead of saving themselves, can be a grave danger to all who follow you, and who see it this way? Now I want to speak to you all, of some general ideas I have. I am a channeler. I channel an entity named Treadbear Yutni. I channel more than this, but I am closest and most familiar with him. He has taught me many things, but the most important is this. He explains that there is no right or wrong, good or bad. We only have the ways we see things and the beliefs and experiences we have to place them in the opinions we have about what is good and bad. So basically we all have our own truths and our own views. He also explains that in the higher realms of physical existence, there are only 2 types of entities. 1, the first are the ones that we consider to be good. Ones who care of free will of all others. They act on the behalf of the whole because they are connected to Source and understand we are all part of one. They look above them for energy, wisdom, and connection. They also look below them. They do this, to be that same connection for smaller consciousness, that the higher ones are for them. 2. The second ones are what we would consider negative. They are the ones who infringe on others' free will. They only act on the benefit of self, and the smaller groups. They do this, because they lack the understanding. The understanding that they are the same as the ones they infringe upon. These entities will only look below them. They do this to overpower or control them. Some of them create fear and chaos to cause fear. This fear is then used as almost a food of energy for them to feed on. They never look above them because they have no need to connect to entities that they cannot control. Then we have the entities that are like us humans. The ones that only exist in the higher end of the basic realms of existence. We are able to have both traits of the ones in higher existence. We have the ability to love others and also only care for yourself depending on mood and mindset. The next density or dimension we enter, we will be either one or the other. No more being of both. Is this how you understand it to be? If not, please elaborate on what to add or what you see to be wrong with these ideas. And please be exact. I am not here to understand the ways that everything works. I have my own beliefs and my own truths. I am simply trying to see the ideas and ways behind this group's beliefs. So please be as exact as you can, on every word, sentence, thought and idea. I want to know what parts of these statements you see to be correct and which you see to be wrong, and then please explain why they are right and why they are wrong. Thank you. Now, I want to ask very specific questions to these entities. First of all, in many sessions your group has spoke of the ideas of caring for others' free wills. In fact, in the session of Ashtar commanding May 9, 2012. It is channeled by G.F.O.L. After some criticism of your group's true care for others' free will, they spoke of the depth of your caring for it. If I may quote, the exact words went like this. And I quote, "We cannot overstep our bounds and unduly influence you to choose either course. We will always be careful to do our best, to allow you all the freedom and the space that you require, to make this decision on your own, and according to your own terms. We of the higher realms also have decisions of our own to make, and, of course, we greatly appreciate others giving us the space that we require, to make our own choices according to what we feel we need to and feel we would like to experience next." End quote. First of all, is this accurate of what your group believes? Secondly, was this truly Ashtar command speaking through G.F.O.L with no addition and subtraction of information? Does all of your channelers with all sources have the ability to connect to all of these entities without adding or subtracting information? I ask this because I am a channeler and taught myself much of it, so when I first started, I had some ego leak through in my very earliest channelings. Now about this specific channeling. When it says you cannot overstep the boundaries, what assures us that you cannot? Is it that you cannot, or is it you will not? It also says that you will always do your best to allow us the room to make our own decisions. When you say do your best, do you mean you will try not to or you will not? And is there a time where you have had to interfere with our free will for the betterment of our race? Now in the session you have from the entity known as Salusa on March 14, 2012. It is explained that the humans have made it hard for the bad guys to succeed. This was refreshing for me because I always have seen that most of the previous sessions you spoke of yourselves doing this. Then after listing longer, it explains in the words of yours exactly, and I quote, "However, we shall confront them at every turn to ensure that they are prevented from causing a major incident. We know all about their false flag operations, and they shall answer for their treasonous attempts to stage another world war. We state again, that war will not be allowed." End quote. The reason I show you this quote is simple. When we agree that all choices are valid, all entities are and should be allowed free will, why do you say you will not allow them to do this? How is it up to you to decide who is right and wrong, when the universe that we are in takes no sides? When the definition of positive entities is to allow free will of all. Why is the free will of the bad guys not matter to you? When I ask my source if all type 2 entities are bad or evil, he explains to me this. And I quote, "In the higher realms, no one sees themselves as wrong. Even in enslaving others, some of their minds, this can be justified. Even interfering in others' affairs, one can truly believe that they are justified. It isn't that they are wrong, they only lack the ability to see that any interference is as bad as another. Even if it saves lives, it will be considered by the universe the same interference as taking the lives. If you care for free will of all, you will not consider anyone you come in contact to be bad or good, therefore you have no sides to pick. Okay. Well, where is the line drawn? What is acceptable for you to do when you decide to step in? Who makes this decision? How is the decision made?" Now when I hear these words, I see a few points I would like to ask of you all. If you accept others' free will, why step in at all? What benefit do we receive as a race when you step in? In the channeling of Salusa, May 8, 18th, it is explained that when everyone has expected your actions to be quicker, it was because you do many things. I cannot find the session, but I believe it was Metatron or Salusa that stated that many beings from outside of our universe wanted access and you refused the entrance because they might not have our best interest in mind. Again, whose interest do you protect? How is this determined and who decides? Back to the May 18th one, it says, and I quote, "Plus the dark ones have been more difficult to remove than we anticipated. However, now that we have been given the authority to take direct action against them, our presence is being felt and our results rewarding." End of quote. So how do you decide who is dark and why they are? Is it because they care not of the free will of ours? So who will be good enough to care for theirs? Why do you care about a race of us that are in the middle of nowhere to a race that has shown it can be evil and good? Why care about us? Why care of fighting against the bad groups and helping the good? Even your message from the Galactic Federation of Light on May 21st is a rebuttal of my friend's video on the 20th. It says, and I quote, "Does it make sense to you to think that there is an alliance of so many thousands of worlds that have come here to take from you what little you have? Do you resonate with this belief? Does this sound plausible to you?" End quote. Now I have a few suggestions. Maybe you would go through these long and drawn-out activities if you were a Type 2 entity, the one I explained above. The one that you agreed on with the definitions. Let us recap, and I quote, "The second ones are what we would consider negative. They are the ones who infringe on others' free will. They only act on the benefit of self and the smaller groups. They do this because they lack the understanding that they are the same as the ones they infringe upon. These entities will only look below them. They do this to overpower or control them. Some of them create fear and chaos to cause fear. This fear is then used as almost a food of energy for them to feed on. They never look above them because they have no need to connect to entities that they cannot control." End quote. Would you give us these false hopes so we don't act ourselves? Would you bring imbalances to us, basically leaving us defenseless? Would you leave us in fear and imbalance so you can eat our negative energy? Would you ask us to trust you, so we lovingly give ourselves into trusting you? Maybe, maybe not. But if you are truly trying to help us, but you are doing it in a way that infringes on the bad guys, are you not still a definition of a negative entity? These are the questions I have been wanting to ask you. Even if you see yourself as loving and righteous, don't you deserve to let all, and I do mean all, to their free will? Whether you see them as bad or not, seeing them as bad alone shows that you lack the basic understandings of a true Type 1 entity. I feel you have my idea on free will, and truly accepting just ours, or others too, and my idea of what is wrong with these ideas, yes? And now if anyone else understands, these points need to be looked into, and answered, so we will see the validity of the messages. Thank you all.